This is the rear backrest, and I'm just going to start by breaking it down just like I did the cushion, get the factory upholstery off. I do want to pay attention to how things come apart because the LeatherSeats.com replacement upholstery is probably going to go on about the same way. So with that, I'm just going to start getting this cloth off. Okay, I seem to have run into a little problem where I can't get this headrest to come out. Usually you can just push this little button in and get it all the way out, but there's something else retaining it. So I'm going to go see if I can find the answer on YouTube or Google and come back. Okay, as usual, Google is the DIYer's best friend. Turns out there's another button on this side, and it's just really hard to see. It's flush mounted. So once I've got the headrest to the top, push in this other button. Okay, so you will have to get the upholstery out from around these plastic pieces here. And usually there, just kind of stretched it around it. All right, so there's one long hog ring listing up top. Everything else looks like it's Velcro. So I'm going to flip this thing around, get those hog rings out, and we should be good to go. All right, there we go. Again, we'll hang on to this because we might need it later. One thing I do want to point out is you really have to be careful with these Velcro listings, because if you just yank and yank and yank on that Velcro, you can damage this plastic insert. And you can see I started to damage it a little bit on this. If you're not careful, you can rip this whole thing out of the foam, and you're going to have a really hard time repairing it once you've done that damage. Okay, I spent a good 15 to 20 minutes to completely steam this, all the foam on this backrest. I really think it made a difference. So now what I'm going to do is start by getting to the point where I've got this hog ring listing completely installed, and to do that I have to make sure that all of my Velcro listings are lined up properly with their respective listing trench. I think the easiest way to do that is going to be to probably connect these clips on the back side and then work the other way around. So I'm just going to get this roughly positioned and go from there. So these J-clips are just going to clip right into these tabs. Very similar to the factory upholstery. I'm actually going to use a standard screwdriver to open up this J-clip a little bit as I'm trying to get it to clip into the tab. There we go. All right, the tabs are all connected on the back, and that should allow me to focus on getting this hog ring listing connected. I want to make sure that all of these vertical listings are right in line with their Velcro channel. And I can Okay, now one thing I'm noticing is I'm definitely going to have to pull this listing in order to get the hog ring to connect through the listing and through the hog ring listing that's built into the foam. I want to be really careful that I pull every one of these about the same amount. Otherwise, when I flip the cover over, the listing on this side, this seam line will be kind of going in all different sorts of directions. It's going to be hard to correct that if I do it wrong the first time. So I'm going to definitely take my time on that. Okay, I have 2 hog rings installed so far, and I just wanted to point out to you, as I'm installing the hog ring in the listing that's sewn onto the upholstery, I'm trying to make sure that I penetrate the listing very close to this plastic wire on both of them, because that's going to ensure that I'm pulling it about the same amount. You know, if I poke one in right here on one listing and then I poke it in way up here on another one, I'm going to have to pull that side down further in order to get the hog ring to go underneath the wire that's built into the foam. So I'm just going to slowly work my way down, trying to be very careful to pull each part of the listing exactly the same amount as I go. All right, I've got all the hog rings installed, as you can see. And I've really paid attention to try and pull them all the same tightness. And I've also tried to orient them in the same direction, so that when I fold the seat cover down over that seam, hopefully everything will lie nice and flat. So now it's time to start working with these Velcro listings. I'm going to get the steam going, and we'll see if we can't get this backrest wrapped up here pretty quick. Okay, I've got the steamer warmed up, so I'm going to go ahead and start getting this backrest installed. I'm just going to start by getting plenty of steam on it to get it warmed up, kind of, you know, up to room temperature or warmer, so that it's a little bit more pliable and I can work with it. And I'm just going to start working these Velcro channels. Now, I'm really not sure if I should start on one side and work my way across, or if I should try and get the whole thing across and work my way down. I think I'm going to try to start on one side and work across. I can always pull the Velcro back if that doesn't seem to be working. And I'm just working to line up this Velcro listing on the inside and just kind of work it down with my hand on the outside as I go. Okay, I don't know if you can tell, but this listing is a little bit wavy, which means I probably have some Velcro kind of out of place. Again, I'm not going to worry too much about this seam right at the moment because it's going to be pulled by this clip on the back, so I want to get it pretty good, but I don't think it has to be perfect just yet. One thing I'm trying to do as I work down this Velcro listing is I'm actually pinching it and pulling it against this hog ring listing up here to try and keep the leather and the vinyl taut. It seems to be working pretty well. Of course, lots of steam helps. This garment steamer's really, I think, made a difference. Okay, I got some big wrinkles here, so I'm going to really, it's kind of creases in the vinyl, I think, from shipping. So I'm going to really get a lot of steam in there and see if I can make some of those fall out. Okay, so at first glance everything looks pretty good. I'm going to go over it with a fine-tooth comb, and then I think we can start to connect these listings on the back side. Okay, I've got all the Velcro listings down, and they all look pretty good, but I've definitely come across the problem I was trying to prevent. And that is that I can see in this top seam where each of the hog rings is, because it's sucking the vinyl and leather down more than in the places where the hog rings aren't. I'm not exactly sure how to fix that without undoing the hog rings, and I don't think I can do a better job than what I did. I think what I'm going to try is undoing the clips on the back side and working with the salvage, the seam salvage, to try and work the seam salvage down into that hog ring trench and maybe make this a little bit smoother. Okay, I got the clips unhooked on the back side, and just as I suspected, this seam salvage isn't really evenly sitting down into this trench. So I'm going to work to get it all packed in there, and then I'm going to roll the upholstery back over the top and see if that makes a difference. Okay, so I got the salvage worked into that salvage trench, and the vinyl folded back over and reconnected on the top, and it's a lot better. It's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. Okay, now that I'm pretty happy with that, I'm just going to start getting these bottom clips connected, and I'm going to start working on the side clips as well. I've got my steam going. We'll see if we can get most of these final wrinkles to kind of fall out as we do this. And you'll notice when I just pull it around, I've got probably 1.5 inches that I'm going to have to pull, so it's quite a bit. You know, this is where you really gotta pay attention to this seam. Make sure that we've got it right where we want it, which is not on the front, but on the actual corner. And that it's even. Let's see. A little bit off. You can kind of massage it down. This one's looking pretty good though. Okay, get some steam in on this side. All right, I think that does it for that one. We just have to cut some holes for those brackets on the back, and I think the backrest will be done. All right, I'm really happy with the way this backrest has turned out, as well as the cushions, and the only thing I have left is to cut the holes. And on this, there's these brackets on the back. Right here, there's 3 of them, and I'm going to need to cut holes for that. And on the cloth upholstery, it looks like they just cut a big square for those. And so that's probably what I'm going to do. I just want to make sure I don't come too close to this seam, because if I get close to that seam, I could potentially weaken the upholstery right there. I also want to make sure when I cut the hole that I'm not pulling the upholstery in any one direction with the hole. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I just have a box knife that has a razor blade in it, and you know, because this is in the back, you're not going to see it, so I'm not terribly worried about it, about the way it's going to look. All right, I've got the holes cut for these brackets in the back. Pretty happy with the way they turned out. Again, they're not going to show, so they don't have to be perfect. And now what I'm going to do is got the holes here for these backrest plastic supports. And the way I'm going to do that, because these will show, the first thing I'm going to double check on is that I'm happy with my seam here and this. There's no seam across the front corner, so I don't have to worry about that being uneven. So what I'm going to do is find the middle of that hole there. You just kind of puncture it. I'm going to just remember, this piece of plastic is bigger than the actual hole needs to be, so I'm just going to cut a little, an X. You can see here, I've just cut an X, and that might be enough for me to stretch it around this plastic ring. We'll see. We need to do a little bit more trimming. Make it a little bit bigger. I just, you know, you don't want to go too big. You definitely want to start small and see if you can you know, work with the smallest hole possible. If you cut it too big, it's going to show. Okay? And I'm just going to try to, yeah, and see that's not going to be quite big enough. So I'm going to just enlarge this a teeny bit. Just go a little bit at a time. There we go. All right. Perfect. And because I made the hole pretty small, I mean, you can't even see where the cut is. And it doesn't look like it's pulling in any direction, so I think it's good. I'm just going to go ahead and do that on these other three, and then move on to the cushion. All right, I got all these holes cut. As you can see, the headrest bezel, headrest bezels look pretty good on both sides. It's not pulling the leather in any kind of weird directions, and the brackets here on the back look good. So I'm going to grab the cushions, cut the holes on the sides for those, and get that hardware mounted back up. All right, this is the 70% cushion, and a couple things I just want to double check before I cut the holes are that all these seams are falling right where I want them to, and I'm pretty happy with the way they look. This one across the front looks great. So I'm going to grab the factory upholstery for it just to double check what I'm going to do. And you know, I'm going to have one hole on this side, which looks like it's going to be right about here, and I'm going to have two holes on this side. And where the holes go on this side, it's definitely harder to feel. I may have to even unclip the vinyl to kind of look and double check, so we'll see how that goes. I'm going to start on this side though, and just do kind of the same thing I did with the headrest bezels. You know, this is the size of the hole, so I'm just going to kind of go in the middle of it, cut an X. It looks like these tabs might kind of get in the way, so I'm actually going to go ahead and trim them off very carefully. You can see that's kind of a crude hole, but it's smaller than the bezel. So once I push it around the bezel there, you can't really tell. And the vinyl lays nicely on the underside of it. Okay. All right, so just try to feel out where these holes are. Okay, there's one right here. Feels like there's one right here. And there's one up here. Okay? These are the screw holes in the side of the bracket. Now, I noticed there's only two There's only 2 holes in this one, and it looks like it's probably the back 2 and not this front one. In this piece, if I put the Torx in place here, this hole looks like it lines up perfectly, as opposed to if I put it in here, this would be at kind of an odd angle. So I'm pretty confident that it's this one and this one. And those are just holes that have to be big enough to let a bolt pass through them. So I'm just going to do I'm just going to kind of puncture it with an X. And just make sure it's kind of opened up a little bit. And the main thing I want to prevent is the vinyl getting caught in the threads of the bolt when I'm trying to thread it back together. Okay, and then this one here. Right. Okay, I think I need to do a little bit of trimming on, probably on both of these. Again, you just got to be really careful because once you cut it, you can't get it back. I don't want to slice my hand, so I'm actually going to get some needle nose pliers in here. And of course you want to make sure you get all the backing foam cut out of there as well. Okay? Pretty happy with the way that looks. Go ahead and do that to the other one. Okay, I'm just going to grab the 30% cushion, do the same thing, then I'll have all my hardware back on for the back seat and it'll be ready to go back in the truck. Alright, well I've decided to go ahead and try to get the headrest done for the back seat right now. That way I can have the whole back seat finished. So, this is the headrest, one of the headrest covers. A few things to notice. You can see on the OEM headrest, there's a cutout right here for the post, and on the leather seats headrest, that same cutout is on this side. So that means it's going to install like this. So first step is to just get the headrest upholstery off, and we'll go from there. So it's probably got a clip. It needs to, yeah, it's got a J clip. It needs to come undone. Or an arrow clip. I think it's a J clip. So just got to get that. There we go. And just kind of work it, squishing the foam. Okay. I'm going to get the steamer going, because if I steam this, it'll probably be easier to install it. And we'll go from there. Right, I got some steam in this thing. It's nice and soft. One thing I do want to point out is the way that this clip works. It's called an arrow clip. So this piece is going to go like so, and this piece actually has to fold over and clip in. So you can see you've got the J piece here and this arrow here. And so it's actually going to fold over. So, you know, might be kind of hard. I might have to pull it pretty tight. We'll just have to see. Okay. So just gonna look again. Make sure I have the orientation of the cover correct. Okay, it's gonna go like this. And you just gotta use your man hands on this. Really try to compress the foam. Be careful not to rip the headrest. Okay, and kind of massage it into place. And look at your seams. Okay, so to get this clipped, here's the opening. Right here. I got to get this clip turned this way. There. Got it. Okay. All right. Let's do that to the other one and the back seats will be done. All right, something came up while I was installing this other headrest and I just wanted to take a minute to show you. On the arrow clip, this vinyl is a little bit too much vinyl and it's actually preventing me from getting this arrow clip to lock in place. So I'm just gonna grab some scissors and trim it off. I just wanna be real careful that I don't get into the seam that actually holds that clip on there. So, I don't know, something that I came across, I figured I might point it out. Okay guys, I've got the back seat done, and overall, I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I think the perforated inserts look really, really good. I love the way the contrast double stitching pops. Overall, the installation went pretty well. There's a few spots with some wrinkles, but my experience with these kits from LeatherSeats.com is that after a couple of weeks inside the vehicle in the sun, most of those wrinkles are gonna go away. So, glad to have the rear seats done. Can't wait to get the front seats out of the truck and get those knocked out as well.